friends, it's Rana, and today I'll be telling you about all the books I recently read during my reading slump. I in total read 20 books since the last time I made this type of video, and I know it may seem like a lot of books to read during a reading slump. I really was struggling, especially towards the end. I only finished one book in July and I barely made it. I'll try talking about these books as quick and sweet as possible because I'm not in the mood for talking too long. I say this and end up rambling for like 30 minutes now. We'll start talking about these books in chronological order, starting from the oldest I read till the most recent one. And the first book we have is Howl's Moving Castle by Deanna Wynne Jones. You probably know what Howl's Moving Castle is about. It is a very popular book and a very popular Ghibli movie that everyone loves. I also have like a fan art on my YouTube banner of the movie. But basically the book is about Sophie, who gets mistaken for her sister by the Witch of the West, and she gets cursed to look way older, like an very old woman. And she starts working for this wizard called Howl in his castle, trying to essentially defeat the Witch of the West and get back to her normal appearance. Before I started reading this book, the movie version of it, the Ghibli studio movie, is one of my all-time favorite movies. I love it. But when I started reading this book, I was afraid that I'm not gonna enjoy it as much as the movie. And when I finished the book, I still had that idea that I prefer the movie. But then afterwards, I rewatched the movie and I believe I prefer a lot of things more in the book. Miyazaki had done a lot of great things with the movie. He changed some things and deleted others, even though I prefer these things and I like them and enjoyed them a lot in the book, but he changed them in the movie. Yes, he did a great job, but a lot of things the book lost when it got translated or adapted to a movie. The book is like more fun, chaotic, and silly than the movie. The movie is like more on the dramatic side. Yes, it starts funny, but ends in a very dramatic note. Both are great on their own. And when I reviewed, like I write small reviews, like 1 line or 2 lines reviews on Goodreads, I wrote that I love these characters, but I prefer the movie. I need to change it because I think I prefer the book now after many contemplation. I think I prefer the book. I give it 5 out of 5 stars, by the way. The second book we have is No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. This book, it is a translated book from Japanese. It is one of the most popular books in Japanese literature. I was so excited to read it. Yes, I heard many things about it, that it is depressing and it's sad and it will put you in a really bad mental position. But I was looking forward to reading it to see what is it actually about, since I heard that the book is like semi-biographical of the author Osamu Dazai. So I was really intrigued to read it. It is not a spoiler, it is someone's life, but he ended up killing himself after finishing writing this book. So when I heard about all these things, a very popular Japanese book about the author who was struggling mentally and ended up killing himself after finishing writing this book, it made me really interested to see it, to read it myself. But honestly, I ended up not enjoying it. You obviously isn't supposed to enjoy this book, but I didn't like it as much as everyone else, it seems. I really don't know how to talk about this book. It started really well, following this main character, this young man, and it talks about how he is, like, I believe ugly, how everyone doesn't like him, getting bullied. It talked about a lot of things. I was intrigued, wanted to see where it's going. It was good at the start. I wasn't like disliking it by any means, but it slowly became repetitive and more depressing. The Osamu Dazai was a sick man. He needed help, and after many years of him killing himself, his books become very popular and people are romanticizing them, and I don't know why. the character is horrible, the things that happens in the books are even more horrible. So I don't know why people think that this book is so good when it is tackling so many bad things. Maybe people are relating to the character, but I wasn't, and it felt very hard to read. The start was good, but as it kept going, it became worse and worse, and I didn't like it. I can't remember if I gave it 2 or 3 stars, but it is between these 2 ratings. I believe it is more of a 3 star. The third book we have is Orbiting Jupiter by Gary Schmidt, and I don't remember much about this book, only that I vaguely remember that it is about 2 teenage boys. One of them are fostering or taking care of this other teenager at his school, his friend, and he has like a daughter, and I can't remember. That's all I remember about it. I know I may make you angry because I can't remember things, but let me explain. I think my reading slump started during this time after I finished No Longer Human, and I wanted to read, but whenever I pick a book to read, I can't focus. I can't enjoy what I'm reading. So I forced myself to listen to audiobooks instead of reading to at least make progress with my reading. So I started picking audiobooks on Everand and listening to them. But the problem is, when I'm in a reading slump, even audiobooks can't catch my attention, and I kept zoning out and ended up not knowing like 50% of what was happening with the book, and I can't remember it. Especially this one, it was very forgettable, so I'm very sorry about it. I give this book 3 stars. I know it might be frustrating to you, but when I finished reading the book, that's how I felt about it. And it has been an issue for me for so long. When I'm in a reading slump, I can't read physically, and I can't focus on audiobooks if they are not that interesting to me. As for the next book, I actually remember a lot of things about it. Mainly that it was very bad, and it is Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson. So this book is about this woman who wakes up every morning, not remember anything about her life, and she gets surprised that she is a very old woman in her mid-life crisis, and she gets depressed because she has fine lines or wrinkles, and she's old and ugly. And every time she wakes up in the morning, she can't remember anything about her life. And her husband sits down with her and talk sweetly with her and make her remember what happened to her after like an accident or something like that. She starts having this condition where she forgets everything every time she wakes up, like the memory loss trope. And she starts writing in her diary every day what happens with her, or she finds like a diary with things written in it and she tries to remember them. She starts not trusting her husband, and another character like her therapist or something like that shows up and wants to help her remember what happened, but without telling her husband because they can't trust him. It was very repetitive. I know because of the nature of the story that every morning she gonna wake up, she gonna get shocked about the fact that she is an old lady. Like, she's not that old, I believe like in her mid-40s or something like that, but she is acting like if it is like the end of the world that she is old, and the cycle keeps repeating. It was extremely boring with bad writing and cliche ending. I wished I DNF this book, but alas, I did not, so I give it 1 out of 5 stars, and it is the worst read of this year so far. The next book I read is Al-Quran Al-Karim, the Holy Quran. It is the holy book in the religion of Islam. I read it during the holy month of Ramadan, from start to finish. I don't have much to say about it, and I don't rate holy books because it is unrespectful to do that. Yeah, it is my yearly read. I read it every year in Ramadan. I prefer to read it more than once, but this time I couldn't read it only once. I didn't actually read it in this copy. I have many copies. I didn't read it in this copy. I actually read it on my phone because I spent a lot of time on work and had a lot of free time, so I read on my phone. The next book is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. It is another case of my amnesia because of my reading slump on audiobook. I remember that it was unique and interesting, but I can't remember much of it, the story itself, and I don't know why, because I remember that it has good vibes and it was very atmospheric, but I can't remember it well. I swear, I'm not exaggerating, but I can't remember any character names. I don't usually remember character names, but in this one, nothing. I can't remember the start or the ending. I just remember the vibes that it had. That's it. And I gave it at that time 3 out of 5 stars. The next book we have is بينما ينام العالم by Suzanne Abdelhawa, or the title in English I believe is Mornings in Jenin by Suzanne Abdelhawa. It is a historical fiction book set in Palestine over like multiple decades. It is like a multi-generational family saga. As the usual with the multiple generational historical fiction, it has like a family tree in it, so you don't get lost and you usually won't get confused because the characters are very distinct. It is a very, very well written book. It is devastating, but it is very well written. I think it is one of the best and most interesting novels I ever read by Arab authors. It wasn't written, I believe, in Arabic. It was translated to Arabic. The author written it originally in English. Yes, I had some issues with the stories and how some things were handled in the book here and there. That's what made me give it only 4 stars, not 5, because of these small things here and there in the book. But overall, it was a very interesting read, and I want to read other books by Suzanne. The next book we have is The Major by Nikki Ehrlich. This book, I heard about it from several booktubers here on Booktube, and it is about like sci-fi dystopia where one day everyone all around the world wake up to small wooden boxes in front of their houses. It contains, I believe, if I remember correctly, strings that indicates the length of their life or how long or short they have lived before they die. Very interesting premise, and many booktubers who I heard them talk about this book actually enjoyed it, but it turned out to be something that wasn't what I want. It tackled more the human relationship aspect of the book rather than the sci-fi dystopia aspect of the story, which I wanted to read more of, not human relationships. I don't care about that. It contains a lot of uninteresting, long-winded dialogue, and it made me really bored, so I can't remember the ending of it because I stopped paying attention to the audiobook by the end of it, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Then we have definitely one of my top reads of 2024 so far, and it is Almond by Sun Won Pyong. This book, I made a whole separate review video of it if you want to go and check it out. But in very short, this book is a book translated from Korean. It talks about this special kid who can't process emotion because of this rare condition he has. He can't feel anger, sadness, love, fear, nothing. And talks about him, how he grows up with his mother and grandmother, and how he meets this boy in school who bullies him, and things go on from there. I don't want to talk much about this book. I talked about it before on the channel. You can see my review video, and I know I'm gonna talk about it a lot in my best books of 2024 video at the end of the year. As for the 10th book I finished this year is 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. Yes, it is a reread, one of the books I wanted to reread during this year, and the main reason why I wanted to read this one specifically is I read it like 4 or 5 years ago and I fell in love with it. I really, really, really adore this book. So I wanted to reread it to cement its place in my heart. And I reread it. It didn't disappoint. It is really a masterpiece. I love it. I adore it. And again, I have a separate review video of this book because I love talking about books I love on their separate videos because they deserve a dedicated review video for them. In short, this book is about two Afghani women during like multiple decades. They don't know each other. We see how Maryam was living her life and then how Layla was living her life and how their lives intertwined and they became a huge part of each other's lives. It is devastating, heartbreaking, and a book that will become a modern classic in the future. Then we have Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This book, it is very short, yet I struggled with it. This one, I started reading it with my eyes physically, and it was a good book. Started good. It has a lot of quotes in it. You can like sit down and highlight a lot of quotes in it. I highlighted like I think 4 or 5 quotes from 10 pages only, but I didn't have the time to sit down and read it, so I started listening to the audiobook because also I was reading it, I wasn't really processing what I was reading because the main character talked for too long. So every time I finished like a part before I started listening to the audiobook, I went to SparksNote to see the summary of what he was talking about to make sure that I understood what was happening. So I switched to audiobook and listened to it, and I think it was a good decision because I didn't really enjoy this book a lot. It is my second Fyodor Dostoevsky read, and I prefer Crime and Punishment. It was a great book, Crime and Punishment. It was a long book, and I still want to reread it because I enjoyed it that much. Yet this one, it is way shorter than Crime and Punishment, and I really didn't enjoy it. The main reason why I didn't enjoy this book is it is full of monologues, like a lot of monologues, and I don't like books filled with monologue or books of stream of consciousness. I hate reading about a character that keeps talking and talking and talking and thinking and talking. It is not what I enjoy reading in literature, and this book, it is just the main character talking and talking and talking, and he is very unlikable. You can't even imagine it. So it wasn't the best thing to pick and read by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I gave it 3 stars. I think I need to lower it to 2 stars. Next we have Redi Rising by Pierce Brown, a very YouTube darling. Everyone loved this book on YouTube, and I know myself. I know my taste. I don't enjoy sci-fi, but here we go again, trying to give this genre another try, another chance, and failing. This book is a sci-fi book set on another planet with a society that has a caste system in it with people of different colors. Like the reds are like the slaves and the golds are like the elite. And we follow this main character, what was his name? Darrow, who is a red, who wants to become a gold to execute a revenge. It has a very promising start, and I had hope with it because I actually enjoyed the start of it, but halfway point I just lost interest because I got bored of all the political talk and scheming for revenge. That's why I didn't enjoy it so much. And sci-fi, I don't know why, but there's something always in sci-fi books that makes me not like them. It is better than the other few sci-fi books I read, but I gave it 3 out of 5 stars and want to continue the series. Then we have Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This book is a romance fantasy. However, it is a clean romance fantasy. As far as I remember, I can't remember any spice in it, which why I mainly enjoyed this book. It also has a tall female protagonist, who likes books and libraries, and she is strong and not this short, small, tiny female protagonist who needs help but can cut your throat. This actually can cut your throat. It was full of action, fun to listen to. I liked the romance a little bit. I didn't feel it that much, but it was enjoyable, and I didn't hate any characters in it. The next book I'm gonna quickly brush over it. It is All Quiet on the Western Front. It is extremely overhyped, and I don't know why. It is an average war book. I read way many better war books, and I don't know why this one is very popular. I didn't get the hype actually, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm still gonna give the movie a chance because people say that it is better than the book, but we will see. The next book we have is White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. It is like a haunted house horror books question mark. It talks about this family who moves to this neighborhood, to this house, because the mother gets this new job where they give her a free house during the term of her contract with them. I can't remember what she works. She's a writer or researcher. The family consists of the mother, a stepfather, the daughter, and the stepdaughter, and we mainly follow the daughter. When they move to this neighborhood, weird things happens around them, and people start talking about this house. Her little bratty sister starts doing some creepy things, and I believe it is more of like a mystery thriller book rather than a horror, but it was a very, very good book. Throughout this book, the book keeps you on your toes, like you don't know what's gonna happen next. Tiffany D. Jackson always writes these amazing stories about Black experience and Black people, and I love it. She's so good. I love her writing style. Like, give me anything and everything she writes. She's just so good, and she's gonna find herself pretty soon on my favorite authors list. And I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. Next we have Lore Olympus, Volume 7 by Rachel Smith. This is like a Hades and Persephone retelling graphic novel. When I first started reading it, I really was enjoying it, but now when we are on Volume 7, I don't enjoy it anymore. It started to irritate me, and I believe that they are just keep going, publishing more and more volumes in this series just to milk the story because it became so popular, and they want to milk it as much as possible, but the cow is dry and they need to stop. And now I'm in the point where I don't even care what will happen next or what will the ending be. So I'm gonna DNF the series, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book we have is the Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. This book, it talks about Satoru, who is a young man, and he rescues this street cat. He used to feed this street cat and take care of him, but he gets in an accident, so he rescues Nana, and Nana becomes his cat. This book talks about the bond between Satoru and Nana, and how, because of some reason, he takes Nana with him on a journey to find him a new owner. He takes him on his minivan and visiting people from his past, trying to find the best new owner for Nana. I give this book 5 out of 5 stars. It is sad but beautiful, slow but perfect, funny but tugs at your heartstrings. I really enjoyed this book. I knew that the ending was coming, and you can see it miles and miles away, but it's gonna shatter your whole existence and make you cry. I didn't cry. I only got teary-eyed reading this book, especially because my little precious cat is currently having a tough time health-wise. She was struggling a little bit for a while because of her weak kidneys and other health issues. That's why when I read this book, it made me very emotional to see the special bond that Nana has with Satoru, and I highly recommend it. And I love the art at the start of each chapter. Like, it is so cute. I really like it. Like, look at this. Isn't this the cutest thing ever? The next book is Days at the Morisaki Bookshop, another translated book from Japanese. This one wasn't that good. It is about this lady who leaves her job because her boyfriend, who is also at this place of work of her boyfriend announced to her that he is getting married to another woman. So she leaves her job and goes to work with her uncle at his bookshop. And there she learns things about her uncle, and meets new people, finds her new self, and become a changed person. It was an alright book, nothing special, nothing mind-blowing. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then I finished reading The Prison Doctor by Amanda Brown. This is a non-fiction book by Amanda Brown where she talks about her experience being a prison doctor in several prisons or institutions. And I also listened to this book on audiobook on Ever, and it is an alright book, very, very fast read. It is like very short. I kinda enjoyed it. It is nothing special again, and I had some issues with it because it is like not organized. It kept going from one thing to another and didn't focus that much on her prison life, more than of how she affected other prisoners' life. And I didn't see it exactly when I was listening to the audiobook, but afterwards I read a few reviews and I was like, yeah, I remember that. I didn't notice it when I was listening to the audiobook, but she talks a lot about herself. Me. I did that. People can't live without me. Prisoners rely on me on everything. And the writing style wasn't the best. The stories weren't that interesting or special to make a book about them. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It was an alright book to pass the time. Last but not least, the 20th book I finished is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. This book, it is a retelling of Carrie by Stephen King. But here, Carrie is reimagined as a mixed-race girl called Maddie. She is trying to hide the fact that she is mixed, that she has black blood in her, and she keeps getting away from the sun as not to get too tan. She doesn't go to school on rainy days, so her hair doesn't get all poofy and curly, and people find out about her being half black. This book is full of bullying, a lot of it actually. No wonder, because it is a Carrie retelling. But let's be honest here. I think Tiffany D. Jackson took Carrie's story, made some changes, made it her own, and produced The Weight of Blood, and I believe it is way, way better than Carrie by Stephen King. I'm sorry, Mr. King, I'm really sorry, but I said what I said. The Weight of the Blood is better than Carrie. When I first read Carrie, I didn't like it. I didn't like the original Carrie. So when I heard about this book by Tiffany D. Jackson, the queen herself, I said, why not? Let's read it. And it is actually way, way better than Carrie. It is incredible how good this book is. It is crazy how I didn't read a single book in July, and this book took me out of my reading slump, and I finished it in like 2 days. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. I love it. It is perfect. I can't imagine a way that I can add something to the story to make it better. It is so good from start to finish. I give it 5 out of 5 stars, as I said. It pulled me out of my reading slump, and I finished reading it like in 2 days, maximum 2 days, and now I'm back to my reading slump. It is crazy how it is the only book I managed to finish reading in July. I didn't read anything throughout the whole month, the whole long ass month of July. I only read this book in 2 days. And now I'm currently reading The River of Silver by Channing Chakraborty. I've been reading it for so long. It is so short, but I've been reading it for so long. I might finish it today or tomorrow. And I want to start something new because I really want something like Weight of Blood to make me get back to reading normally, not reading 1 book a month. Kindly pray for me to get out of this miserable reading slump, because I'm struggling. Like, I'm looking at my bookshelves wanting to read books, but whenever I open a book, I can't read for the life of me. So that's it for today's wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to see my future videos, and I will see you next time. Bye!